What up, what up, what up? It's Ibn Webb, Quran, Sam here. Official things thing going down here. Ben Sirmans, immaculate legend, athletically, football, track and field, you name it here. Went on, to play football, what have you here, college, and it's currently running back coach for the Green Bay Packers here. Just the joy for me even saying that as far as him just living out his athletic dreams here as far as continue to be in the game, as far as that goes here. But a much better person here. I remember going to school and, just hearing about, a lot of people that walk through those hallways on 33 College Place here. Ben was one of them here. So been trying to get him on. I'm glad I got him. I'm gonna be quiet here and just get Ben on and, we're gonna chop it up, hear a little bit about his walk. Hold tight. There we go. There we go. Man, what's up, man? What's up? Thank you for doing this, man. I know you're showing a little bit of your age here with this technology, huh?
I don't know what's going on, man. I'm using my my work iPad. So and sometimes for I guess security reasons they have certain things blocked out. So I had to go back in and make sure that that I basically took everything off, like all the precautions that we use. So yeah, but now I'm good.
Thank you for doing this. And speaking of security here, I'm glad NFL security come knocking on my door, man. I know I was chasing you down for a second here,
No.
calling the office, everything here, and I know how tight security is over there. So I'm glad nobody came knocking on my door. I ain't want those kind of problems.
No, it's all good. Matter of fact, man, I've been meaning to hook up with you for the longest ever since because I saw the one that you did with Latish, saw the one that you did with Lance, and then I've been trying to saying to myself, man, I need to do this with it. Then we got like I told you about Sam Sills, who's from Orange, because
Yeah.
he learned about your podcast, and he kept, man, when you gonna do it? When you gonna do the podcast? When you gonna do the podcast? So I said, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So he asked me every time he comes into town, he would ask me if I'd done the podcast or not, and I would say no, not yet. So I told him I was doing it, this summer. So as a matter of fact, I got to send him your information. You got to get him on too. He's
No,
he's a good character. He's a character
most
now.
definitely. Most definitely here. And thanks for Lance even for bridging us together here too. So and again, I know I'm catching you right before camp and everything started here, so I want to be respectful of your time and everything, family and everything as well too.
Right.
Just dive into it, man. I'll be a little nosy here, just a little bit. I'm curious as far as where are you from? I really don't know where you're from.
All right. I'm from from East Orange. I grew up right on the corner of Springdale Avenue and 22nd Street. Yeah, so I think we moved there. I want to say in I don't know '77. So that's basically where my childhood was from. Went to Our Lady Help a Christian. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I went to which is on Clinton Street, right there in East Orange, and actually, one of my old classmates, 7th and 8th grade, was a guy Nell Jean, who we know as Wyclef.
Mm.
So me and Wyclef, we're in the same class, and actually that's when I first started. I first started rapping. Me and this guy called named Rob Lyons that we called Disco Danger. So we had our own little group. Obviously Nell, he just get on and he be playing the guitar, rapping, like some of the same things you see him do. With the Fugees. But that was short lived for me. I didn't have any type of game for that. So. Yeah, it was like a 3 year stint, and I was done.
Yeah, no, all good. You only child?
Say it again.
Are you the only child?
No, not at all. I have well, you know what? Both of I had two older brothers,
Okay.
and they both have passed away. So now just left is my older sister. She's a year older than me, and she now lives in Bloomfield. My mother, she still, I think, no, she lives in Newark now, but she moved into I guess you can say like a 55 and older apartment. So I get a chance to come home at least once, sometimes twice a year, just to visit, with her. Because you know how our parents, as they start to get older, and especially for me, because because I can go 6, 7 months without seeing my mother, and then when I do see her, I can just see, oh man, you can see how she's getting older,
Yeah.
so.
Hmm. No,
Yeah,
no,
so
those first
besides
years.
that, that's had a really good childhood growing up. For everything seems cool to you. Playing football in the streets, having friends. We run around the Martin Stadium to see the EO or Scott play, hopping the fence, doing
Hmm.
all that crazy
Hmm.
stuff, following the band. And I talked to the guy that I grew up with. We actually talked about 3 weeks ago because it's been a year since I had talked to him. And I started talking to him about the times we used to follow either Scott or East Orange band to Martin Stadium. And I asked him if they still did that, and he said that they didn't. And I think he might have said that I guess they have like a performance arts school that represents the band now. I don't know how it goes, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
actually they co-op. They brought them East Orange and Scott together now. They call it East Orange campus, and
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
school.
yeah. Familiar with that.
Yep,
Yeah, I
yep.
am familiar with that for sure. Matter of fact, the guy that used to be I can't think of his name right now. Used to be the head coach at East Orange High School. I mean Campus High School. I think they just won. I know they won. I think they won a state championship a few years back. But his son coaches at West Virginia, and he just did an internship with us up there.
Ray Oliver was the coach. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they just did he just did an internship with us this spring. Yeah,
Mm.
so yes. So that's really about it, man. And just found my way up to through Clifford Scott because that's when my sister went to Clifford Scott. So just kept going and went to Immaculate.
You mentioned activities, what have you? Even before getting to Immaculate here, did you get involved with anything, whether it was athletics or just other things, recreational, while growing up?
Mainly just football. I did play at Aliopa Christian. We did have a basketball team, so I played there 7th and 8th grade. But outside of that, playing Pop Warner football. We used to play down at I played for the Cougars one year. We had the Charger stripes. We used to play
Hmm.
practice at Oval Park. So I played there, and then I played. The first team I played for was the Eagles. I think that was in I was in 6th grade at the time. So I pretty much played for the Cougars right up until I went to Immaculate. But really, mainly just football and being out in the streets, playing those street games. Where like I said, I grew up on 22nd Street, and sometimes we go to Columbia, the elementary school. They had a park in there, and it'll be 22nd Street versus 4th Ave. Then
Hmm.
21st Street had a team. Then the other side of 22nd Street, they had a team. So we'd have these big jamborees with, remember the old Nerf footballs?
The nerd. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we didn't even use like regular, the pigskin footballs. We used the Nerf footballs, and it was always funny, like seeing guys that could throw the heck out of the Nerf football, and then you say, "Oh man, that guy, he's gonna be," because we know when we started to go to high school, he would sit there and say to yourself, "Oh man, this guy's gonna be the man when he gets into high school." But throwing that Nerf ball is a lot different, than throwing a real football. So.
Most definitely here. I mean, you get in trouble as a child, or you pretty much straight and narrow. As far as.
Never got in any trouble. Never been arrested. Nothing
Mhm.
like that. I mean, at times, I would get in trouble at school. I
Yeah.
went to sure. I remember one year I went to Hard Middle, and my mother, she owned a beauty parlor right on the corner of Grove and 22nd Street in East Orange, and I would get in trouble doing bad stuff. And then this in the 6th grade, she called me Benji. She said, "If you act up, one more time, I'm gonna come up there and I'm gonna give you a beating in school." I was like, "Man, you can get a beating in school, come on." And so I got into a fight, and lo and behold, my mother came up. She had to leave her customer, come up to Hart Middle, and she's sitting there talking to the principal, and then all of a sudden she unzipped her purse and pulls out this strap. I'm like, what? And the
It's
principal,
costing
now,
them money. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this is how you know this is back in the day, because the principal got up, left the room, and
Yeah, yeah.
I got a beating right in school, and occasionally the principal would look in just to make sure I wasn't being abused or anything. But
Mhm,
yeah, but that's probably, in terms of trouble, that's probably the most
mhm.
trouble I got into, and then right after that year, my sixth grade year is when I went to Our Lady Help a Christian for seventh and eighth grade.
Nah, as soon as you said Miles was leaving the customer, you costing her money. Yeah,
Oh,
so
no, no doubt.
oh, yeah, no, no, definitely. Yeah. Then you mentioned playing for the Cougars. What first position you played? You remember?
You know what? Because you had the weight limit,
Yeah.
so I played offensive guard and I played defensive tackle. I didn't move to running back until I got to Immaculate. As a matter of fact, my freshman year I played tight end
Mm-hmm.
because the running backs were Fred and Lance. Those
Mm-hmm.
were the two running backs. So I played tight end my freshman year, and then sophomore year, I got back in the ten. I'm not very tall, as you know, I'm like 5'9". So
Mm-hmm.
my sophomore year, I got into the tight end line, and that's when I can't remember which coach came over and said, "If you want to go with the running backs, you can go with the running backs now." Because when you're a
Okay.
freshman team, we had that big of numbers. You're trying to get
Mm-hmm.
all your guys out in the field. So yeah, so that's when I moved to running back. But in Pop One, I was defensive line, offensive line. I was one of those fat kids that would have to put the plastic bag on, run
Run
around the stadium to sweat to make sure that I made the weight. So
Mhm.
yeah.
How'd you end up at Immaculate? You have you I know usually it's the three Catholic schools, that Essex or Seton Hall. Was that the situation or was it somebody
Well, you
else?
know what? No, 100%, because my oldest brother, he went to Seton Hall.
Okay.
And I had a couple of friends that went to Essex. Matter of fact, one of their coach, Tony Bailey, who used to be the head coach at Essex Catholic, he lived right down the street from me, probably maybe 5 houses down the street at Essex Catholic. So he tried to persuade me to go there, and I really didn't know very much about Immaculate. And then I don't know why I said this. I said, I just want to go to a high school where they have girls,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
which, obviously Essex Catholic and Immaculate didn't. So that was, it sounds funny, but that was one of the main reasons why I
I
chose.
know you meant Seton Hall, right? You says
Yeah,
you meant
yeah,
Seton Hall, okay. Yep.
yep. So that's one of the main reasons why I went to Immaculate over Seton Hall or Essex Catholic.
So you talk about tight end, and then eventually sophomore year they throw you in the backfield here. Like, did you play varsity freshman, sophomore year? Did you get any varsity time?
I got some, but mainly, it was probably more JV. During that time, I'm trying to think. I think we still have. I think my sophomore year, I think we still had Jimmy Golden. I don't know if he's a little. I don't know
Nah,
if
I know the names. I know the names.
yeah. So I think we still had like Jimmy Golden and let me see. I'm trying to think who some of the other backs. I played very sparingly my sophomore year. It was mainly JV, but it wasn't really until my junior year is when I really started getting in the mix. And then even then I played mainly linebacker and fullback because we still had Fred, we still had Lance, and then you still had guys like Lamar, coming
Hmm.
up.
Yeah,
So it was a very, very competitive backfield, but I played probably more fullback than halfback.
because I was gonna ask. I mean, you got a lot of athletes there. Like the practice and everything must have been crazy competitive here.
It was. We used to do. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Um, like every training, I guess you call it training camp, preseason, whatever you want to call it, is we would do this deal once we got the pads on. Where, what was it called? It wasn't Bull in the Ring. Oh man,
Not
but
Oklahoma, was it Oklahoma?
it wasn't even. I guess it was a version of that. But what we would do is you would call somebody out, or you would go see Coach Finn and be like, okay, I want to go up against this guy. So what you would do, you would literally you line up across from each other in the 3-point stands. It'd be wide receivers, everybody, and then everybody else will form a circle around you. Then he blow the whistle, and you see who could put who on their back, basically. And
Mhm.
I've seen guys just just totally get destroyed. I've seen fights break out where Coach Finn be like, get around, run around the field, until I say stop. So it was all those things, but it was competitive. But you know what? I think as competitive as it was, I think we all like rooted, rooted for each other's, success, and because we're trying to get to the playoffs. Now, if the playoff structure was like it is now, because we were winning 6 games a year, which would have easily gotten you in the playoffs. But back then, it was parochial A and parochial B, and so you had a lot of schools vying for only a couple of spots. So I think since then they've broken it down to like the Catholic schools, group 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we'd have made it every year if it was the way it was after I left.
Yeah, pretty much everybody get in now.
Yeah, exactly. I think we had a chance. I mean, we had some good players. I mean, we weren't very big, but we'd have had a chance to make some noise.
Remember some of them games? I mean, again, I know any rivalries. I mean, I know there was the Mountain Lakes of the world. I want to say maybe Cedar Groves.
Cedar Grove,
I mean,
Cedar Grove.
okay, okay.
Yeah, I think those are probably. I think probably because Cedar Grove back then, I think it was 2 years in a row. They made big plays at the end that kept us out of the playoffs. But I mean, obviously we played Glen Ridge. Because that was our Thanksgiving game. But we typically would win, would win those games. I think Chatham, from what I remember, Chatham was always a tough team for us to
Hmm.
play, and we had to barely ever matchups because they were one of the few Catholic schools that was in our league. So yeah, but it was competitive though, and then we'd always get mocked. We get mocked even when we had good seasons. We get mocked by because I had like friends that well, particularly after I went to college, but I would get mocked by people that went to like Montclair or even
Hmm.
some of my boys that went to East Orange, because they were mighty Group 4 schools and we were just small parochial B, a really small parochial B school. Um, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, those are some of the things I do remember about that experience.
Let me ask, did y'all ever scrimmage Essex Catholic while you
Yeah, we
back then?
did. We scrimmaged them. I think it was. I want to say my junior. It might have been my senior year. I think we scrimmaged them 2 years in a row. Because the reason why I said I think we also scrimmaged in my senior year is because I think we scrimmaged in my junior year, and they got the best of. They got Benson Goodwin, who was who was a beast. I was a junior at that time, and I remember Benson from my Pop Warner days. But then I think it was our senior year when we scrimmaged him, we beat him, and then and then I remember when I don't know if you remember when Latish hit that game winner against Essex Catholic.
Right, right,
Right,
right.
his junior year, my senior year. So I remember like rushing the floor and saying, "Yeah, we beat y'all in football and basketball." And then I got one of my buddies now, and it's
Mhm.
funny how life happens. Who was also a good friend of Lance Boston's. This guy Ray Bastian, who played at Essex Catholic, played basketball at Essex Catholic. Me and Ray are really good friends now, because he lives down in Chicago.
Mm.
So which is not very far from here. And Lance kind of reconnected us, because I know Ray since high school. So I always tease him about Latish hitting that game winner
Yeah,
on
I
him, and
heard
then he
about
then,
it. Yeah.
yeah, then he'll come. Then he came back and he would say that. And this was I was going off to Maine, but then he would come back and say, "Yeah, but my senior year we went up to a Macklin and we blew you guys out." So I
Yeah,
said, "But
yeah, yeah.
I said I wasn't there, so I just remember when my senior year when we played you guys."
Yeah, I was a freshman then. Yeah, they basketball they came through and ran them off the court
Yeah, yeah,
on television at
yeah.
that too.
And I think he
So
said that. I think he said that same thing. It was on
yeah.
television.
Speaking of television, your last high school game, remember it?
The against Glen Ridge.
TV,
Yeah, and
correct?
I think I had, was it like the 95 yarder or something like that?
Did you know you could run that fast?
Well, it's not that I was running. I was just running faster than the guys that were chasing me. I'm pretty sure, like, if you'd have put me on a, if you'd have gauged me on a 40 yard, I don't know how fast it would have been, but I think that had a lot more to do with the guys that were chasing me than just my own natural speed. But I still have that on VHS. Matter of fact,
Okay.
and
You
the funny thing is, like, all my players, college and pro, like, they want to see like some of my clips and all. I won't show them because it looks nothing like theirs. So so I don't show them any of that stuff.
Nah, and what a way to go out though. I mean, like even back then, like your last game TV, that still might be a school record, I believe, that run. And then getting interviewed, you got interviewed, I believe, too, correct?
I think so. Yeah, right after the game. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. I did.
yes.
I think it was that. I don't know if it was called Cablevision or TV3, something like that.
TV3. Yeah,
Yeah,
TV3.
yeah.
Yes.
Back in the day. Yeah. Matter of fact, I think I still have. I think Lance sent me a clip of it, and he recorded on his phone and sent it to me. And then he also sent one, and I think he sent one with Fred, because Fred was hurt. I think Fred
Mhm.
was hurt in that game, and I still got the clip of Fred wishing everybody, happy thing, and he said happy Thanksgiving, so we all were teasing him about that. Yeah, so yeah, it's funny, man. How long ago was that? Jeez.
I know that it's crazy, crazy. Even when did you realize, like, hey, you know what, I could probably this could probably help my family out a little bit in regards to moving on to college and knocking some of this cost down, and ultimately getting a full scholarship to Maine here. Was there any other schools in the mix here? But when did you realize, like your junior year, senior year, Coach Fest, Coach Fanning, was just talking to you about all
Probably,
this? Like,
probably
hey,
more so. It was something that I always wanted, to, because when I started looking at like the school, like I always wanted to go to. I always wanted to go to like either Penn State or Nebraska. Matter of fact, me and Mike Reed used to always talk about going to Nebraska. So we would always like go to camps. Like I went to the Penn State camp, went to
mm,
the Maryland camp. Just trying to showcase yourself to get those opportunities to play Division One football. But schools will come in. Obviously, at the time, and it's funny because I think a lot of those schools I probably could have played at. I'm talking about like some of the bigger schools, but at the same time, now having coached at big time programs and now coaching in the NFL is like you see like the true talent levels of some of these guys, and then you see why you end up, where you ended up, in terms of how good they are. But at the end of the day, like I wanted to play a bigger school, but it pretty much came down to I had a Maine scholarship and I had a UConn scholarship offer. Went up to Maine. Me and Lance had a good time. I mean, there's a guy. I don't know if you know who Williamson is, but he
oh,
was a long.
East Orange, was East Orange?
Yeah, he was East Orange.
Hmm.
So me and Jamal, we played together at Pop Warner football over at Oval Park, and then he played at the University of Maine. He was a year ahead of me, so he hosted me while I was up there. Had a really good time, and with those being the only two schools, that really offered me, I ended up going to Maine and ended up working out.
We're talking even about the main experience. Even I just recall even, entering high school. I came after you left high school here, but you were always as far as revered of your work ethic, especially with weightlifting. How important was that to you even back then? Like, it was all these, I don't know, backless shirts with the 300 club.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All that. How important was all that?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was just about to mention that. It was one of the goals that Coach Finn had set for us, was giving us. At first, I got to the 250 shirt, which was, man, I was jacked up to get that, and then I got to the 300 shirt, and I was obviously extremely excited about that. But I think the way I always enjoyed lifting weights, I was one of those guys growing up in East Orange that had in the basement. Remember the old gray weights with the like the cinder blocks inside and the cement
Mhm.
inside, the ones that somebody had to spot you because the bar was so short, and if you missed it,
Yes.
it could go flying over your head. So I've always been into weights, and I think the other reason was because with me being in track and being on the weight team and being around Donald McDaniel and Tyrone and all those guys, and seeing how they lifted and how they worked, so all those things inspire me to not only to really try to keep up with them, so I've always been a big time. Matter of fact, we used to go over there to the YMCA. Over there, we used to catch the 34 bus,
Okay.
home. So right there with the bus, yeah. So and then we had that little gym where we used to have to pull the weights out. Remember, where the basketball gym is, that little room, and
Yes,
then you pull
right.
the weights out in the hallway that led to the cafeteria. Yeah, so if we weren't going to over to the Y, we would lift there. So yeah, so I would say that having a chance to get one of those T-shirts was definitely one of the things that inspired me to want to lift weights.
And I want to be remiss too. I know you mentioned here just even your exploits in track. It was you did the field events, correct?
Yes, yep. Did through the shot put.
And just how
Yep.
decorated Immaculate was in track and field, like just throughout the state here. I mean, I know you graduated with an Olympian, as far as Rich. I know Rich was
Yep.
with you here. And then,
Yep.
but also yourself here, just some of the things that you did too here. I mean, did you enjoy being out on the field as
Yeah,
far as track and
I
field?
really did. Especially it was cool, especially like even like my junior year, because and when we did like the when let's say like we had you had your own individual um opportunities in track in terms of throwing the shot put, but when we teamed up and it was like it was me, Donald, and Tyrone, and you take your top three throwers, I mean, we're very formidable, and it was rare, that the three of us, when you combine, our throws, that we would get beat. So I got a lot of medals from that, got a lot of individual medals. And like I said, I think when you're pushed by guys that are better than you, and you want to reach to where they're at, or even look to try to surpass it, it's going to take a lot of hard work. And obviously having Coach Finn, they're training us and helping us out with the weight team. Then I think it was my junior year is really when I started to come on and making some noise. And then by the time I got to, I know I won the counties. One of those years, I won the counties. I would always come in second in the states because I think it was I think St. Joe's. They had this one kid, this big, tall, white dude, man, and he'd be throwing that thing 60 feet. I think he went to Nebraska somewhere, from what I heard. But he's the only guy that I couldn't beat. But yeah, I enjoyed that part. I also enjoyed the fact that when you throw on the weights, like with like Fred, Lance, I teach all those guys, like they couldn't eat, or even Rich, they couldn't
Mhm.
eat, before the meet or before the race. Man, I sit back there, I'm eating everything. I go throw, relax, I'm chilling, having fun, running around with all the different schools, and they're so focused and locked in. I ain't have to worry about any of that stuff. I get up there, I throw, win, and keep moving. And then, having a chance to win a couple of state championships. I think, and I could be wrong, this was so long ago. I don't know if it was my junior year, we won not only the states, but I think we won the counties, which
Mm.
is very hard to do, especially when you had schools like Montclair, and some of these other schools they had. But it was our weight, obviously Rich racked up a lot of points for us. Our weight team was always really good, so we got a lot of points from our weight team. But that was, that, especially look how small Macklin is.
I know.
We
Yeah.
had what, barely 300 students, but to be able to win the counties and track with all these fast schools, I mean, that was huge.
No, no, definitely. I mean, I think they're still good, if I recall here. Orono, Maine. I mean, besides playing football, I don't know if you went ice fishing or any stuff up there, but just being, how much of a culture shock was that for you, just to go from East Orange to Orono, Maine?
It was it really was a huge culture shock, mainly from the standpoint, because it was funny because my roommate, this guy Rob Paulius, he was from Montclair High School, you know. And I think the thing that helped us all is that the guy that recruited us, a guy named John Lovett, who recruited a lot of guys in northern New Jersey, is there were a bunch of us from like northern New Jersey, a couple of guys from New York City, Long Island. So that made the transition a little bit easier. But I still remember my roommate Rob and I, we would have to play music at night because it was so quiet. And see, where I lived at in East Orange, like I said, I lived on a corner of 22nd and Springdale. So you had the bus stop there. You hear police cars, racing up and down the street. Occasionally you'll get woken up because either somebody had stole a car or they had their car and they're doing donuts right there at the intersection. So that was, I got used to all these sounds and noises, putting me to sleep. So when we got up to Orono, it was so dead quiet. We had to create our own noise to
Mm,
go to sleep. But that was one of the biggest transitions. Obviously, there weren't very many blacks up there, so that was another transition, and something else that we had to get used to from a cultural standpoint. But the one thing that I will say is that there were a lot of really good people, and we had a really good time and enjoyable experience. I think, and it's very much like this place in Green Bay, to be honest with you. But I think that when you don't have a lot of distractions in terms of different outlets within the community, what you find is you do a lot of things together. And
mm,
that's one of the things that we did up in Maine is we did a lot of things together. So we partied together. It doesn't matter if you're white or black. We
mhm.
partied together. We ran around together. We would go to other people's house. Even to this day, like I can't make it, but they're having a huge like gathering up in Boston, and not just the people in my class. I mean, he's talking about the span of maybe 20 years of guys just coming together. But that's the type of place it was. But it was, man, it was so totally different. And it's amazing because you get used to that type of environment, and then you come back home to New Jersey, and you walk down, you say hello to somebody because you're used to that now being up in Maine. They just keep on looking at you like you're strange, or they just keep walking. So I had to reboot myself back to the nastiness, you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
of the Northeast. So yeah.
Now it's interesting. Did that help with anything, any struggles or hiccups on the football field? Because you got red shirt, did you get red shirted?
Well, I played. I played
You
as a
play
true
okay,
freshman.
okay.
Um, really start playing maybe at the midpoint of the season. But what I did was because we had some other really good running backs that we're in the same age group. We all would have been seniors. Some of the guys were there
It's
a
like a
year
Carl
before me.
Smith, he was there or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, Carl Smith. Carl Smith was there. We're the same. Now, Carl Smith was a year ahead of me, but he redshirted. So I played as a true freshman. So he was a redshirt freshman, and I was a true freshman. But we're technically in the same football class. So Kirk Ferentz, who's the head coach at the University of Iowa, he's been there over 20 years. He was our head coach my last 2 years at the University of Maine. So he brought me in and he asked me if I would be interested in redshirting as a senior to be. So I look and I start thinking about all the guys that I came in with,
Okay.
all those guys that I was a year ahead of on the football field, but we're in the same grade. It was a no-brainer for me because it gave me the chance to basically play as the starter. So I played a lot of fullback my junior year, blocking for guys like Carl Smith. So it gave me the chance to be the starter running back as a senior, rush for 1,200 yards, and the guy who was my position coach is a guy named Scott Walker,
Mhm.
who's the director of academic support at Rutgers, like for the
Mhm.
football program,
Okay.
and I think he does some other sports, but he was actually my position coach at the University of Maine.
Interesting. That's rare to hear that. I mean, so you were older too, so I think that was like a mature decision to make, I think, versus being 17, 18 and getting registered and being frustrated. So that was a mature decision and it sounded like it was thought out by
Yeah, and it
you.
was really good because I played. I mean, I was when I first got to Maine, I was 17. I
Mhm.
didn't turn 18 until mid-October, so I played my first football game at 17 years old, in college. And it's funny because my very first handoff, we were playing UConn. My very first handoff on the 6-yard line was a touchdown. I still got
That's
the
all right.
still got the picture of that. So yeah, no, Maine was a really good experience. Really good experience. Oh, it had its challenges, don't get me wrong. It was
Mm.
cold as hell up there, and
Yeah, yeah.
like I said, just not too many of us, but it was overall it was a good experience.
Because it was the old Yankee conference, correct?
At that time, yep, no Yankee conference. Matter of fact, my mom, because she worked on Saturdays, because that was the busiest day for her beauty parlor. So we come down whether we're playing Villanova or sometimes we play Delaware. That will give them a chance, and some of my friends, a chance to come to a game. Only thing that bothered me about redshirting my senior year, well, going into my senior year was the year that we came down and played Rutgers in Spaghetti.
Ooh.
So that would have been cool,
Mhm.
to play in New Jersey.
Oh no, no, definitely. Now, even with the year you had 1,200 yards, X amount of touchdowns hit, um, that thought about the pros, does it start seeping
Oh
in a
yeah,
little bit?
yeah, it is because I was actually pretty shocked that I didn't at least, sign a contract, even as an undrafted free agent. Ran well with all my tests. I think that was the year. Also, I thought to myself, at least, maybe I'll have a chance at like the World League. But I think I'm trying to remember. I think that was the year that they postponed or got rid of the World League, and then they brought it back. And then there was also the year they cut down on the rosters. Um, yeah, so a lot of different things happened, but I worked out. I worked out for a couple of teams, but never had a chance, an opportunity to get into camp. So I guess it just it wasn't in the works for me. I mean, I guess God had another path for me to make my way
Mhm.
to the NFL, and so I just
Yeah.
had to go with that. But it was disappointing because you get the letters. I mean, you're working out for the teams, and I never got an agent. Well, I did get an agent, but he wasn't a real agent. It seemed like, if anything, he was probably more like trying to find ways to rip me off more than anything, which
Mm.
sometimes at that time you had to be careful of, especially if you weren't a very well known player. So it's a lot different than it is now, the way it's structured now.
Yeah. So you leave Maine, and I believe, and again, you still probably top 10 all-time rushing in the season and also career-wise. I know things that work out, and you alluded to it in regards to the path to the NFL before that even got to it. What made you want to coach? Was that always something concurrently you wanted to do?
I think so because I was a health and phys ed major when I was at Maine. I've always, felt like this would be a way to stay involved in the game. I still remember. It's funny because I still remember putting together my own playbook. I wrote it because I stayed up there in the summertime to work out and do summer camps. So I put together my own playbook. So I've always wanted to be a coach, and really, being a phys ed teacher and teaching, a big part of that is no different than coaching because you got to instruct somebody that you're trying to learn different tools and give them different tools to. So I've always wanted to do that. So like when things did not work out for me from an NFL standpoint, I knew I had to eat. I had a coaching
Hmm.
degree, so I remember going to the Newark Board of Education, applying for a job at the Newark Board of Education. And it's funny because as I'm sitting there, I was ready. I can't even think of the guy's name right now. But as I'm sitting there waiting to talk to the director of physical education, there was a guy that came and sat next to me, and he started talking to me about, I told him I just graduated. I'm trying to get into phys ed. I'm trying to, I also want to. He said, "Are you interested in coaching?" I said, "Yeah." So the guy was a guy named Ricky Rodriguez. Now, Ricky Rodriguez was at the time the head coach at Barringer High School. And he was also, I think his last coaching position, he was at Bayonne High School. So I know he said, "Well, I'll be right back." So I know Ricky went in to talk to the director. I don't know what he said to him,
Hmm.
but I ended up, getting hired in Newark Board of Education.
And coached Barron, was it Barringer you coached at?
I coached at Barringer High School for 3 years, and I
And
worked
I
at a school
asked
that. Say it again.
Behringer, I apologize cutting you off because I'm gonna forget to ask about Behringer. Were you there when I want to think it's Roderick Johnson. He was a running back.
Yes, I was.
He
I
went to
came.
Kansas or something.
Yep, he went to Kansas. So that was Ricky Rodriguez. That was his dude. So the year that I got hired at Barringer, he had already gone. But I know exactly because I met him before, but I never coached him. No,
Okay,
when I got there, he was already gone.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you get the Behringer, start feeling your way around the coaching. Any of the plays that you wrote up in Maine here, you was able to use any of them?
No, no way. And you know what? And it's funny because some of those plays were, I mean, it were actually real plays. That sometimes some of them like power. I mean, you still see that today, and they just had different ways of running it. But no, I didn't see any of those at all.
So even getting in there, so once you kind of got your feet wet, it was one of those things. Let me see how far I can take this as far as different levels, or you just knew you didn't want ultimately be a high school coach.
Everything happens via opportunity. So my first year out of college, I worked at a school called Quitman Street in Newark, which is no longer there anymore. I think they tore it down. And then I got to Barringer Prep, which was all ninth grade. So I was there for 3 years. So I got a call from the university from a guy Jack Cosgrove, who was the offensive coordinator at Maine when I played there, who's now the head coach. And he said that they had a position, a running back position, open at Maine. And the way this all happened was he's now deceased. George DeLeon, who used to be the offense coordinator at Syracuse, was I mean he's Mr. New Jersey when it comes to northern New Jersey football as high school coaches recognize it. But I used to always go to the clinics and I'd be sitting in the front and he grabbed me and he used me as a basically as a dummy, to demonstrate stuff. So when Coach Kyles was looking for running back coaches, he asked some of his staff members to try to get a feel for people that might know somebody that they would suggest. So this guy Scott Lakatos called George DeLeon because he used to work at Syracuse with him, and he said, "Well, what about Ben Sirmans? I know he played there. He's coaches running backs at the high school, but he seems, bright enough that he might be a good fit for you." So Coach Kaz called me and he was like, I guess he was like, man, I wasn't even thinking about that you'd be interested. So he called me, asked me if I was interested in the job, went up, interviewed for the job, got it. And that kind of got the ball rolling as it relates to me coaching in college.
So you return back to Brick, Maine, pretty much Orono, Maine. You're there, you're coaching. Were you also doing some recruiting as well?
Yeah, I recruited. Yep. So I recruited. I had mainly New York City, because we already had somebody in northern New Jersey. So I had New York City, had Long Island. Those were my main areas. But it did give me a chance to. It did give me a chance to come back to northern New Jersey. On occasion, have an opportunity to see my mom, hang out with my friends, some of my old teammates, and back then, GPS you really didn't have GPS, so you had to learn. You had to use maps, and you know how crazy New York City is, and even going out to Long Island. But I will say this: the one thing that it did help me do, it helped me learn my way around the city because you would have to use maps and you have to and high school coaches would say, okay, you go here, turn it right. So you had to use all these things. And I remember even just pulling over, on my way driving down from Maine, pulling over at the rest stop, getting on a payphone, trying to set meetings up with coaches. And it was a different world than what it is now, I'll tell you that.
Now, your success rate, I don't know if I'm not asking for percentages or nothing, but just if you was to just think like just going into the city, northern New Jersey, but you mentioned LI, you mentioned the city here, just recruiting and getting folks that look like you, individuals that look like you. Did that help? Because I'm sure you just having that city sense as well too, but also sharing with them your experiences up there and just getting away from all this and, trying to do better for yourself? And did all that, play a part? Did it help?
I think it did help for sure because now you're talking to somebody that had experience and coming from areas such as the greater metropolitan area and being able to go into an area that's rural. We didn't have very many blacks. We didn't have very many Latinos. The funny thing about it is it wasn't just the minority players that it was different for. It was also the Caucasian players. I mean,
Mhm.
because they were used to, being in the city,
Yeah,
being around a
yeah.
lot of people, being around, cultural things. And now all of a sudden you're taking kids like that and bring them to a place where and it's cold in obviously New York City and New Jersey, but a place was gonna be about 10 degrees cooler. You're gonna get a lot more snow, a lot less to do. So I mean, so for all of them, so whether they matter black, white, or Latino, you had to describe the experience to them and what the differences were. Now, Maine has always been known as the land of misfits, and the reason that was known is that because even when I was there, even when we had a lot of success, even though we had a lot of great players, is every year there might be one or two, maybe three players that had offers to other schools or offers to schools that were at the same level. So it wasn't like it was you had to find those kids that would want to go. That probably was the toughest part about recruiting in Maine is you had to find the kids that would want to go there was the toughest part.
Now you knew that was just gonna be a short stay as far as coaching up there, or did you went up there? Did you feel like I might be here, for a long period of time?
I really, really had no idea. I mean, you always have when you first starting out. Um, I think I was 20. I think I was 26 when I first got there. But when you first starting out, I mean, you excited to be coaching at that level.
Hmm.
It seems like a big level to you because I just came from high school. Now I'm coaching college football. Always had aspirations because especially like if it's a Saturday, you play your game, you turn the TV on, and you're seeing, Michigan, Ohio State play. You've seen these bigger schools play, and you start wondering to yourself, man, I wonder what it would be like to coach at a Division I program. Seeing because I'm coaching in it's 4 to 8,000 people. Now, if we play Delaware, that was 20,000. And then now seeing that, oh man, these coaches, they're coaching in places where in front of like 70,000, 80,000. So you have those aspirations. So it was cool. Like when I first got my chance and opportunity, my first Division I job was at Kent State. So I was at Maine for 3 years, and I got that job at Kent State, and I was so excited, to go to Kent
Yeah.
State. But in actuality, Kent State at that time, we had the lowest. I think we had the lowest attended games in all of Division I. So you play a
Wow.
home game, you still coaching in front of 6,000 people. But then, I got jacked up when we one year we went to go play Ohio State. So I'm walking around like, man, we're playing at Ohio State, or we're playing at Penn State, or Iowa. West Virginia we played. So then obviously all your people, like my brother, they would want to come to the games because they always wanted to be in those type of environments. So, but and then when that happened, when I started going from Kent State and I started spreading out, networking to different guys and guys who I was on the staff would start leaving and going to bigger programs. It really increased your appetite,
Okay.
to wanting more.
Mhm.
So you had to do a great job where you were. You had to continue with the right connections. You would have to reach out to people. I would send stuff out to different running back coaches at bigger programs, sharing my ideas with them. They would get back to me, say, "Man, this is great, man. I love your manual, but here's something else that you can do to expand on it." So, yeah, so it was, it really motivated you to want to try to reach the highest levels.
Mention manual here. Could you just explain a little bit more of that? Just kind of that was something you had to just put together about some of your schemes, your style, your ways, or that's kind of what that manual is.
It's really a culmination of a lot of things. Like you put together whatever your running back philosophy was. You put together like things on technique, like easy, even simple things like how you're supposed to carry the ball or dropping your pass, the different techniques and mechanics that you use in pass protection. How do you teach schemes? I even had like my philosophy on recruiting, how I would go after kids. So, and I would have my drills, like, and it was a lot tougher back then to put drills into play. Easy now, whether you're doing PowerPoint, Visio, whatever. But I would put together like my drills and talk about those in detail. So, and it really like it was almost like your running back Bible that as seen by Ben Sirmans. So in like every position has one, every coach has one. Now the thing that I do now these days is on a lot of it's on video.
Yes, yes. Now, early on in your coaching, your coaching days, you had like you remember any like kick myself moments, like damn, I messed up here or something here, or head coach going to bark on me, or I just did something I wasn't supposed to do. Had good intentions, but you had any of those moments?
I mean, all coaches have those moments.
Hmm.
Whether it's one of your players, missing an assignment or fumbling the football, or you're not being quick enough with a call or getting somebody, so that does happen, and some coaches handle it differently.
Hmm.
Some coaches will bark at you, right away, like what the hell's going on here, because they always, because one thing about it, when particularly like when you're an assistant, is one of the things that's always dangling over your head is that this man is in control to a degree of your livelihood.
Mm.
So you want to do a great job for a lot of reasons. Obviously to continue to have success, because your position is important to the position of the team, and if your position isn't playing well, it can hurt everybody. And then if it
Yeah,
hurts everybody, then that could be the end of you. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So yeah, so that's definitely happened. I mean, I've even had those situations happen was where it wasn't my fault, and it got caught on national TV, which was like, I was like, man, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Mm. Now, what kind of coach are you? What's your style?
My style was more. I probably would say I'm probably more of a teacher. Um, Not necessarily laid back, but I stay at for the most part. I kind of stay at the same plane. When I'm coaching, when I'm teaching, like I'll jump up, get excited. But obviously, if things go wrong, if I get really animated in my expressions and my delivery to the players, they know it's real. Because
Hmm.
sometimes you can be a guy that barks all the time, hey, mother, you can be that guy all the time. And sometimes, some kids respond to it, and sometimes they'll just go one ear out of the other, or they get immune to that style. So, I mean, I even had like grown men players say to me that when I started like going off really verbally on them, like, man, damn, coach, man, this guy probably could, he whip my ass, if we got into a fight. But
Yeah.
he's like, like, dang, coach, man, I was actually scared, because I don't do that very often. And
Mhm.
usually when I do, I can see the guys respond when I
Yeah.
get that animated, because I don't do it all the time. And it's
Yeah.
not just when they do something wrong. It can also be to like, I think, man, we need to jumpstart ourselves. I don't like the way we're playing. I don't like the way we're hustling. I mean, we're running backs. I mean, we're supposed to be the motor of the team. We're not the
Hmm.
driver. That's the quarterback. But the motor,
Hmm.
that's us. So
Yeah.
so anytime that those things aren't going well, I'll get a lot more animated.
Yeah. You mentioned Rutgers earlier, as far as missing them the one year you had the red shirt. You had another opportunity to go back to Rutgers.
Yeah.
But you had to make a decision.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah.
how did you go about that?
Well, I think it was my fourth year at Boston College, and Kyle Flood, who was the coach at the time, I've known Kyle since he was at coaching at Hofstra. I don't think Hofstra has a team anymore, but he was coaching at Hofstra. That's how I know him. And then we had a guy, Dave Brock, who I think is back at Rutgers now, who coached with me at Boston College. So he was the offensive coordinator at Rutgers. So he suggested to Kyle to hire me, interview for the job, and talk to Kyle on the phone. I know Kyle, so I got the job at Rutgers, and I was all good. I was good. So I'm going to Rutgers. I'm back at home. We're gonna get this deal going, and then I got a call out of the blue from the Rams. Got Brian Schottenheimer. He called me and asked me if I was interested in interviewing for the job at Rutgers. Now, Kyle had already told me, because he already had a guy that accepted a job at Rutgers and then left. So he already told me that, man, you're not going to come here and then leave, are you? And I was like, nah, man, I'm down. And it's funny as I say this, because the first time that they offered me to interview, I thought about this, man. I told Kyle, yeah, it's just an interview. Doesn't mean I'm going to get the job. Now, because one thing about coach, you got to you got to understand who you're working with. Because I could go in there and say to Kyle Flood, hey, listen, I'm going to take this interview with the Rams, and he could say to me, well, then you take that interview, you better get the job, because you no longer have a job here at Rutgers. So and that's happened a lot, in this profession. So sometimes you start waiting, man, do I take the risk? What I'm going to do? So initially I told Kyle, man, okay, I'm not interested in it. And so I told the guys from there I wasn't interested in it. But and this is obviously, we know how God works. But they ended up calling me back and asked me, like, why? Because they heard a lot of good things about me through a guy that's a really good friend of mine, that's coached in the NFL. And I said, so you know what? They called me twice. All right, I'm gonna have to go talk to Kyle, and then I had to go talk to Kyle. And, at the end of the day, he understood. Understood where I was coming from. If I wouldn't have got the job, I think I would have been good to come back to Rutgers. But I ended up flying out there, doing a combine, and I ended up getting the job. So that was the start of everything. But it's one of those moments, man, that it was defining, because you got to make a really, really tough decision right away.
Mhm. Even then, too, you had somebody in your life around that time too that you had to have a conversation with too. I'm guessing. Were
Well,
you
there's
were
a lot.
you with? I was told, were you weren't married at the time, or were you? Or as far
No,
as
no, I
having to
wasn't.
make those.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, well, at that time I was married. Yeah, so I did have to, I had to talk to the missus
Mhm.
about all that. And she was very supportive. She was supportive of me when I went to Rutgers. I explained the dynamic of, hey, if this doesn't work out, I mean, there's a chance that I could be out of a job. So she kind of left it up to me, that okay, well, it's we're just going to have faith. We're both God fearing people, so she was just like, we're just gonna have faith and walk on faith, and that's what I did. So she supported my decision, and obviously through the blessings, everything everything worked out.
And with that being said, just how was it? I mean, as a kid, you dream about, making it to the league, and I know you had aspirations, especially the collegiate career that you ended off having here, wanting to take a handoff from somebody in the National Football League. Instead of taking the handoffs, you was instructing them how to take handoffs. How 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 was it? I mean, just that whole thing, man. And again, I know you got to kind of be even keel a little bit, but I'm sure
Right.
inside the little kid in you was probably jumping around.
Oh, no doubt, because as we know, I mean, look at the initials of the NFL, not for long. And it's one
Yeah,
of, you
yeah.
got to look at it. You got to look at it this way. There's 32 teams, and there's only 32 of these jobs in the world. You know, and I happened to get one of them. So obviously, I was extremely excited. It's little bit of nerves, because I'm trying, because I talked to a lot of people, that had coached in the league, and they said, one of the things that, going into the league is that, your players, they're going to want to know is, can you make them better, and can you keep them in this league? Now, having said that, I get the task of coaching a veteran player by the name of Steven Jackson, who was, at the time, and especially in his prime, was one of the premier running backs in the NFL. And it's not only that, is you talking about, if you want to talk about an intimidating specimen to look at, Steven Jackson is like 6'3" and a half, 245 with the long dreads. And, and believe me, his appearance itself, is intimidating. So I had to go in there. I was fully confident, because I'm as a teacher, I learned as much as I could about him, watched a lot of tape on him, created tape that we could watch because I knew I had to gain his respect and gain his confidence. So, so even from the first time that I met him, because he's gonna look at me skeptical because with some skepticism, because here I am coming straight from college and he's now going into his ninth year. I think his ninth year as a pro. A guy that rushed for like 1,000 yards 7 straight years. But we had we hit it off, had a great relationship. I still talk to him today. Probably one of the biggest moments that I had with him was we're playing San Francisco, and at the time, that like San Francisco during this time, like you think their defense is elite now. I mean, they had 7 Pro Bowls on their defense. You're talking about Patrick Willis,
yeah.
Navarro Bowman, all those guys. So, and Navarro Bowman back then, I mean, he was probably from an inside linebacker, probably was the best pass rushing inside linebacker that I had seen. So, but he had the spin move. Like he could run through you, he could juke you, and he had this patented spin move that he would use. So I remember telling, we were playing San Francisco. So I remember telling Jack, Steven Jack, we call him Jack. So I remember telling Jack, okay, so when you set up, you want a soft set on him because he's probably going to use his spin move. So when he spins, because you're not being overly aggressive, you can catch him and boom, then you got him. So lo and behold, they run a blitz. Here comes Navarro Bowman. Steven Jackson soft sets him. He does the spin move, bam, and he stones him and kind of drives him in the ground. He's like, yeah, my coach told me about this. So I was like, so he came over to the sideline and he said that to me. And I saw like the confidence that he had, like, yeah, man, this guy, he knows what he's doing now. But in that same instance, I made a major mistake because, and you do this through your study, because I knew, okay, so we stopped his spin move. The next time I know this guy's going to bull rush Jack. So, I said, you know what? I don't want to overload him with all this information. So I didn't tell him to prepare for the power rush. And on the next time Navarro blitzed, that's exactly what he did. He power rushed him, knocked Jack back, but Jack's so big he was able to recover. So our quarterback at the time, Sam Bradford, was able to get rid of the ball. But so it was a plus and a negative at the same time. But if I would have told him to prepare for that bull rush, man, I'd have been on cloud 9 with him. So yeah, but it's been, man, it's been enjoyable. Man. I think I've been coaching. I think I'm going on year 12 now in the NFL, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, man. It's been, it's like all professions. There's ups and downs, but working with a bunch of great people. I've been blessed enough to where since I've been coaching this league of working with great people in terms of other coaches. And I'm not just saying this just to be saying, I mean, because you hear horror stories of different coaches, but I've been really, really blessed from that standpoint.
And even with that being said, here, how about as far as you talked about, Steven Jackson, I mean, multiple running backs, even second, third stringers, just when is it that whole not talking X's and O's with them here? I mean, do you try to find a balance with that? I know you can't do it all the time because it's a business and it's a business of playing, but you still got to have like that people aspect to it.
Oh, that's all part of it. That, I mean, whether we're talking off the field, or even in our meeting rooms. I mean, the heck, sometimes we may start off by talking about things that are going on in their lives, or hey, did you see the game? Or I'll come in because like we play music during our meetings, so I'll have some '90s hip hop on. I was like, do you know? I'll say to one of the backs, like Aaron Jones, do you know what this is? And it's like, wait a minute. So one day he got me. He's like, yeah, isn't that Wu-Tang? I was like, how do you know about the Who? You probably was even born when they came out. And they would
Mhm.
say stuff like, yeah, and this would date you because like, yeah, my dad used to, or my mom used to listen to that all the time. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, oh, so I'll
yeah.
hit them every so often. I'll hit them with a bunch of like different music from like the '90s, like mainly rappers, but even R&B. I'll hit them with whether it was for their time or if they were toddlers. And
Mhm,
most of the time they'll know the songs because they've heard it before because of their parents. So we'll do stuff like that. So it's way we'll talk about things that are going on in life. Even some politics will jump into it. Sometimes we'll talk about, because like most of the running backs, they're black guys, so
mhm.
I'll talk to the brothers about, what it's like, and I'll ask them, what is it like, being a brother, in society. Now, how do you view it? Now I'll get, I'll also give them my input on how I see
Mhm.
things and try to educate them, so they feel like they can always come and talk to me. I'll ask them how things are going, even with females in their life. Their things with their kids, their family. I mean, it's what they're listening to, like what's the latest? Because my son's in high school
Mhm.
now, so what's the latest things that people are doing as far as social media going on there? I know this much. I know how you feel about it, but I am so happy. We all get older, but I am so happy that I grew up in the age that I grew up in, because now in some of the things that I've done that would have been captured,
Mhm.
on social media. I mean,
Your
I
life
mean,
is
it's
recorded. Yeah, your life is recorded every second of the day. Yeah,
every second. But I guess it's like anything else. You evolve, and
that's
you get used to your surroundings. And I think that you know being exposed to these guys, these young adults, it's kind of kept me in the right framework where I can see what they're facing, what's going on in their life, some of the things that my son, all right, is going to go through. So I'm living through their world, as well as my own, all right,
mhm.
because it's kind of keeping me up to date with society and what's going on.
Definitely. You mentioned society, and you talked about relating especially to some of the black players. How thick was the tension? How did you work through it and just deal with it during that whole Kaepernick time, and just even now things that come up that extends past the football field here? I mean, how? And again, I know there's a delicate line you have to
Hmm.
walk. Because again, I know it's your livelihood, but I know when you make the separation or make the stance like, hey, this is my position and that's it. Because I know you mentioned you have your teenage son. He's also watching you, even though you
Hmm.
don't think he's watching you. So how, with everything, especially when you talk about the NFL and some of the things folks agree with and don't agree with, when we talk about some of the racial things that have happened, especially in recent years.
Well, I think that's the one thing about it. Not to give the political answer, but the NFL has really done a good job of allowing teams to handle those situations how they see fit. They'll give you resources to use, but it's really, you have to have great leadership, from so we whether it was coming from us. I mean, I had like doing a whole Kaepernick situation, the Floyd situation. Like, it gave me a chance, an opportunity to speak my mind on all those things as well as others, because really mainly just trying to point a picture sometimes to to guys that didn't grow up like us or looking like us, so they can try to paint a picture so that they can understand like some of the things that we face, whether it was getting pulled over, by the police, or how you should react. And
Mhm.
and the thing about it is everybody was very interactive. It wasn't just the black players, it was the white players, it was the coaches, it was people that we had come in. And for me, like even dealing with my own specific players or players that have come in and talked to me, was I gave them my feelings on the situation, how I think they should handle it, talk about different experiences that I had, listen to experiences that they had, and sometimes we just we pointed things, whether it was pointing things back to to God, or just pointing things to things that happened decades and decades before. But it was really, and that's the one thing about, when you're in a team setting, in a football setting where you got guys that have come from, whether black and white, you got black guys, some of the black guys that came from real rural, desolate
Mhm.
areas in the South, or they come from areas in the North, where they lived in the projects, or even coming from areas where they had white picket fences, or whether it's white players that from the same thing, not because we had,
Mhm.
some white players that came from like far out, where they were on farms or grew up in cities. So
Yeah.
that's one good thing about a team. You got a culmination of all these different types of people. It didn't matter what the color was, all coming together, sharing like their experiences. All right, but seeing how we all didn't have to like mesh and be buddy buddy, but we're all family. So it kind of just pointed out that if you got one singular goal, I mean, you can get along, But as you know, there are different things that drive, whether you're talking about racism
Mhm.
or being fair. There's different things that drive uh, that needle, so to speak. So yeah.
No, definitely. And y'all spend so much time together, so it's just so important. And thank you for even sharing some of that, because some of that, as you know, that's some of the stuff the media don't talk about as far as those conversations and things, and how leadership is different in each organization as well too. So thank you even for sharing that. I mean, you go from St. Louis, you make your way to where you're currently at, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Like, how did that come about?
Well, when the year that the Rams moved to LA is when I had a chance to come up here to Green Bay. And I actually had almost had a chance to go to Indianapolis too at that same time. But I decided to go to Green Bay. Obviously, you got Aaron Rodgers. You have a great tradition, and even when I was with the Rams, we came up and played Green Bay. It was one of those places I couldn't wait, just to see. Man, Lambeau Field. I was jacked up and excited because you hear about how the organization is ran. You start,
Yeah.
thinking about Lombardi and all these people. So it was, I was excited as heck, to get the opportunity. And even just to, be here going on 9 years, because every year is different.
Mhm.
Every year is basically, one year, when you get here. So to fight and hang on, was always a blessing, and to keep, making sure that I do a great job. But I obviously love the organization. My son, man, he loves being here. It's a great place for the families. Now, don't get me wrong. We got a place down in Charlotte, so in the summertime we go down there to re-energize ourselves with some culture and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
that
But
and the frost probably too.
oh yeah, oh no doubt, yeah, it was so hot down there. I think probably averaged like 97 degrees, and it was humid. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it's been a great organization, great place to work at, great place to live. But you do miss, even when I come home to New Jersey, or we're like, even when we're playing the Giants, or I just came home. I mean, because you're up here for so many months, you do miss like the culture, and being exposed to different. Not that you're going to go out every night, go to a place to eat, go to a play, or go hang out at this lounge every night, but the fact that it's there and it's in
Mhm.
within reaching distance, or going and people watching is so much different, because you got a lot of different types of people. So you do miss
Yeah.
that part of not living in the city, but overall, it's been a great experience.
I know you coach, and we all people. We walk, talk, the same language or what have. Coaching, you ever gotten starstruck just with this coaching gig? Like you run, I mean, you go up to coach Aaron Rodgers. You was with Steven Jackson. You coach against any and everybody. I mean, again, I know you gotta keep it to yourself. You gotta, play it
Mm,
off. But I mean, is it like, oh shit, like this is so and so.
yeah, probably more so like my first year. My
Okay.
first year in the league, I was probably more like that. Um, but then after a while, you just realize it's just. I mean, although you see some guys that are balling, like, oh man, this dude's amazing. I just remember
Mm-hmm.
seeing like some of the D linemen. No, 'cause I just came from Boston College. We
Mm-hmm.
had some guys that got drafted. We had the BJ Raji and all these guys, but then seeing some of these other animals, seeing Calais Campbell for the first time, like,
Mhm.
man, this guy is humongous. Steven Jackson, like, man, that's how our back should look. All these things. So probably more so the first year, but after that, and you still see guys that, man, this guy's amazing. Like, and I can tell you, like Aaron Rodgers is like, I mean, that dude is his talent is freakish. I'm not just talking about what you see on when you're watching the games. I mean, seeing the stuff and the throws that he makes in practice. And I don't know if there's. I mean, you can say that. I mean, obviously he's not the GOAT. You got your Tom Brady, but in terms of talented, I don't know
Mhm.
how many quarterbacks in the history of this game are as talented as he is. I mean, this guy can make throws off. I mean, off unimaginable platforms. Like when he's
Mhm.
scrambling around and he's throwing the ball up, going across his body, and the DB is draped all over the receiver. And it's just a dime where nobody else, I don't know who else can make that throw. So being around him was amazing. And then I'll tell you, the other part about it sometimes is just being around their stories. Like you're around because these guys, I mean, they're around big time actresses, actors,
Right.
musicians, uh, politicians. I mean, they're going to all these different places, and we're sitting there sharing all these stories, and then you're learning more and more about other people. I mean, that part about it is just as amazing as being around just the players or having a practice and seeing Jamie Foxx at your practice or Ice
Mhm.
Cube or Kevin Costner is at your practice. We played over in London my first year with the Rams. And Kevin Costner was over there, and they were shooting one of the Fast and the Furious, the one that was over in London, and
Mhm.
Tyrese is at our hotel, talking
Yeah.
with some of our players. So those kind of experiences are, they're pretty cool because I know I would have
Yeah.
never ever had opportunity to experience those things if I wasn't coaching at this level.
Yeah. Nah. This is great, man. Thank you. And I know what I usually like to do. Can I put you on the spot a little bit before we part ways here? Is
All
that
right,
is
go
that
ahead.
pretty cool? Cool. You mentioned going back to Jersey here and there. So, but just in general, when you're in Jersey, you prefer the Parkway or the Turnpike?
The Parkway, because I live right off the Parkway.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you call these two institutions here Jimmy Buffs or sandwiches.
Probably sandwiches.
Right, sandwiches. You're 80s high school graduate, so I'm just curious to see what you're gonna say here. Valleys or British Walkers?
Oh, British Walkers, man, easy. that
Yeah, okay.
was easy. I had some, I
Uh,
had some Brits back in the day.
you went to Catholic school, so I'm sure you might have had a pair on going to school too. School. Favorite '80s rap group or just rap artists in general?
In the '80s, probably was KRS-One.
Hmm.
My
Now,
favorite group was the Wu Tang, but my favorite rapper was KRS-One.
it's Chris. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And it's interesting if he's talking about rap. I know I was just come leading up to this here, thinking about you being. I know you shared me, and you also talked about it early being in the rap game and just what have you here. Have you ever took any of Eric Sermon's lines? Because one line I always think about is I hear voices saying that's Eric Sermon. I'm not sure if you might have put Ben in there.
No, I know what I've never. No, it's fun. I've never done that. But when I
Okay,
went to
okay.
Maine, people used to ask me if that was my cousin, and sometimes I would play along with it. But then once they
Mhm.
saw that the last names were spelled differently, then they knew I was messing. I was like, "Yeah, man, that's my cousin. He taught me how to rap."
Speaking of Maine here, University of Maine or Montclair Immaculate?
In terms of experience, I would have to say the University of Maine.
Okay,
I would have to say
okay.
just because, yeah. And the funny thing is even with Immaculate is we just like recently, probably over the last 8 years, it's funny how we all start to come back together. Even people like Yuande, um, Kyle Douglas, Sheba. I mean, I know these people were all, Bridget. I mean, people that were there before you got there. But I think, and you might experience this especially more. But as we start to get older, um, you start coming back and doing a lot more and revisiting with some of your friends.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I'm gonna have to now think about it, I'm gonna have to change my answer because Lance gets both. I'm gonna have to say immaculate. Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
immaculate. Because I'm starting thinking about I'm hanging out with my boy Kelvin, Mike
Calvin,
Reed,
not.
yup,
Yeah.
Fred G. Still talk with Lance. Yeah, and she,
Yeah.
yeah, immaculate. Yeah, for sure, immaculate. Yeah,
This is
immaculate.
a sidebar. Kelvin and I grew up in the same complex, Dogtown. So yeah, so
Oh, really? Yeah, I used to
yeah,
go over there
Kelvin
all
and
the time.
him and Mark Hardaway, yeah, those
Yep, Mark
guys. Yep.
Hardaway. I was just about to say, yep, Mark Hardaway.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, as far as fields here, speaking of Mac, I have some fun here. Lambeau Field or Cody Field?
Come on, man. Lambeau Field all the way.
Yeah,
And we don't even have a football team anymore.
I know, I know, I know, I know. We'll see what happens. I know right now, but I'm more impressed with them still remaining open too. So a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah,
a
that's
lot of
good.
schools that shut down too. So
Yeah, and every time think about this, every time I'm at home, I always drive up to Montclair and I'll take Orange Road just so I could pass by. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, I actually parked right there at the field, got out, the gate was open, and I just walked up there to the fence. Out of the fence to get into the field was locked, but I still remember looking in, walking up there to
yeah,
the field house at the door,
so,
just to reminisce about back in the
yeah,
day.
all things that if them walls could talk in that field house.
Oh, no
Yeah.
doubt. No
The
doubt.
walls. Yeah. I know talking behind the scenes here, you mentioned Coach Finn and Coach Fest in particular, just as far as helping you become the man you've become here. You mind just sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing even with that is, because my dad passed away when I was 6. And my mother and would have like some of my uncles, like they've stayed with us before, but once I got up to immaculate, I think the biggest thing with like Finn Fest and even Coach Mao is they really showed not just helping you from a sports standpoint, but
Mhm.
really trying to help, you know, guide your decisions, and kind of like forecasting, what's ahead of you and giving you different options of what road you should take, or and I felt very comfortable with going in and, and sitting down and having those conversations with them. And shoot, can't tell you how many times Coach Fest, gave me a ride home, after practice. And that, once again, that was a learning opportunity for me because I mean, he would not only just talk to me about how sports are going, just like with life, talk to me about your future, football, going to college, all those things. So all those guys, man, have definitely been instrumental, in my
Mhm.
development, especially in the early years, of my development, growing up, without my dad, and just having other men. I mean, I've had men from
Mhm.
all over that have
Yes.
had input into my life growing up, and they definitely have a percentage of that for sure. Even
And
Fred, Mr. Gibbons. I mean, all of them,
mhm.
Mr. Boston, all those guys.
And I think about, even talk about some of the coaches there, it just Macklin in general. If one thing, there's a bunch of things. I think one thing for me is the improvisation. They're from them being coaches to teachers to school
Right,
bus drivers to the
right,
landscapers
right.
to probably the crossing guards and cafeteria workers. Probably we probably who knows, but I just
Yeah,
think
no
about
doubt.
the improv that they had to do and all the hats that they had to wear to just kind of just maintain that school and and keep it up and running. So I was always when I look back, that's one of the things I just think
Yeah,
about.
and it just showed you how much they cared about the school itself, and did whatever they could do to make it easier for us.
Mhm.
Like you said, whether driving the bus or lying in the field or whatever, trying to keep the whole place organized and having some structure to it. I think all those things were key for sure.
Definitely. I got a few more, but just to tie up this here, just think about the resources, Ben. Like from Montclair Immaculate to Green Bay Packers here in the NFL, you have everything at your disposal right now, pretty much, whether it's electronics, whether it's anything else, and things you had to figure out back when you were 16, 17 years old versus now. Like you have everything at your disposal, or just that journey that even when we're talking about resources. So no, it's
Yeah,
pretty impressive here. Pretty impressive here. So I want you to be a little selfish here. Best game you ever played in your life on any level.
best game probably was a game when I was at the University of Maine. We played UMass. I think that was the game that I went over 1,000. I think we won. It was a big game because we won it, and that was our first. Because we had when Coach Ferentz first got there, we were 3-8, 3-8. Then that last game that made us 6-5, so we had a winning season. I think I had like I don't know, maybe like 140 yards rushing.
Mhm.
So a couple of touchdowns. So that's probably my biggest game that I can
Yeah,
remember. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Best team you ever been on at any level. Best team.
Um, Probably in all sports or just talking about football.
Any
I'll
sport.
give
Any
you
sport.
both. I'll give you both. Football wise, I would have to say my sophomore year at Maine. Because we're ranked as high as fourth in the country.
Mhm.
Um, we made it to the play. We got knocked out in the first round, but we
Beat
made
y'all.
it. It was at the time they were called Southwest Missouri State. They've changed their name. And the thing about it, we were ranked higher than them, but we had to travel out there because they could raise more money than what we could at Maine. So we had to travel out there. But that was probably the best team that I played on from a football standpoint. But then another sports, I would say I think it was my sophomore year, that track team. Because that track team, like I said, I know we won the states, we won the conference. I'm pretty sure that was the year we won the counties too. So we won
Mhm.
everything. So that team, it was, and being able to contribute even as a sophomore and gather some points. So those were probably the two best teams that I played for.
Yeah. Coaching or playing.
Say it again.
Coaching or playing.
I would have to say, man, it's nothing like competing.
Mhm.
Nothing like playing. I would have to say playing.
Yeah,
Playing.
yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say playing. Because now you compete, you out there. Although the exhilaration of winning, well, even as a player, but as a coach, man, I can't tell you. I mean, how the euphoria you get when you win a game, because you put so much into the week's preparation, all those hours, and you know how bad. Sometimes it's just a relief to win,
Mhm.
But when you win, especially at this level, I mean, it just makes your week go by better. It is so euphoric. But I remember feeling that same way but you know what? I think I probably feel more euphoria as a coach than I did as a player,
Mhm.
for sure. Although I did enjoy playing more than I do coaching. I would say probably most coaches would tell you that.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, when you're not coaching, I mean, when anything's football related, what do you enjoy doing?
Shoot, me and I went out with my son this morning and we play a little bit of golf. We don't play 9 holes, but we played
Mhm.
some golf today. So I like doing recreational things like that. Sometimes it's cool just to go chill me and my wife will go chill at a lounge and listen to reggae music. We have to make our own reggae club here because not to
Okay.
find any in Green Bay. So I like doing stuff, and I tell you, I just like hang around, whether it's with the coaches or we have friends that live in our neighborhood. Just being
Mhm.
social and hanging around, hanging out. I like doing those things.
Okay. Now, can we solve this? This is probably a 40-year thing that's probably been up in the air here as far as better athlete, Lance Boston, Fred Givens, or Ben Sirmans. Who's the better athlete? Can you just kind of just solve put an end to this right now?
The better athlete. Well, if you look at from an accolades standpoint, you know, I'm gonna have to say I was the better athlete.
Okay. Yeah, I just
I got some I got my own individual championships. You know, throwing the shot put. You know,
mhm,
I was first team all county, although it was at linebacker. You
mhm,
know, yeah. So I was first team. I think it was first team. I think I was first team, first or second team. I was an all county player in
mhm,
football, and then I got my track, you know, accolades. You know,
mhm.
I was a scholarship player, just like those guys were. So I have to say I was. Overall,
All
I
right,
was the
well,
best athlete.
all right. Again, they may think different, but I figure we just solve this right now. Like, just get this over with, because I'm sure all. Well, speaking even one in particular, I know all three are very close, but Lance ran with you for a while, even up in college. I mean, how's that relationship, man?
Oh, me and Lance, man, we're tight. And you know what? And the thing about it is, like, from when we first started at Immaculate, I mean, he was like, we were cool, but you know, the guys that I hung around with was guys like Kelvin, you know, a guy
Mhm,
Joseph Lockhart, Joey G, we called him. Then eventually, you know, Mike Reed, you know, but then, you know, as we start, because we're in different, you know, different grade, not different grades, but different classes. But as the years persisted from sophomore to junior to senior year, we start getting a lot tighter. We start hanging out a lot more together, and obviously going up to Maine together. That was cool. So yeah, he's still one of my better friends, one of my best friends. We
yeah.
talk every now and then. He came. We played the Steelers last year. Obviously, he's a Steelers fan. When we played the Steelers last year, he came out to the came to the game. He's been to Green Bay. That's why I said when you asked me about that Maine Immaculate initially, I said Maine because that was the last place that I went in terms of school. But then when I really started thinking about how tight and how close we are, have rekindled ourselves as Immaculate grads, that's one of the reasons why I said Immaculate. Like he came out here to Green Bay, like he came out, Sheba came out, Wande came out. These are people that I graduated with in high school.
Yeah.
So yeah, so me and Lance, when we talk, man, I'm hoping that I know he's been debating about moving to North Carolina. I'm hoping he does that because my wife and I, we got a place down there, and that's probably where we're going to end up.
Nah, nah, cool, cool. Book on your life. What would you call it?
Say it again.
A book on your life. What would you call it?
Oh, a book on my life, man. That's a good one right there. I guess it would be something like creating the ride that I enjoyed,
Hmm.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, creating
Good.
the ride and enjoying it,
Hmm.
some of that nature.
Yeah. Best part about being a father.
Best part, just teaching my son, man, and hanging and being able to hang out with him. And like I said, now that he's old enough, we just started really playing golf together this year. So just being able to do that, I got to teach him because he's 14. I got to teach him how to drive. So that's the next part of it. So really, just having the opportunity to model to him how we need to be, you know, as how he needs to be as a man. You know, teaching him how to because he sees the love that my wife and I how the love that we have for each other. So hopefully he'll know how to treat
Hmm.
women the right way. So that's probably the best part is just modeling my life to him and hoping that he excels to be better than me.
Outside of golf, does he play any other sports, football or anything? Does he?
Yeah, he plays. He's at football practice now. They're doing like a summer workout. So yes, he plays football. He did basketball, runs track. But he's not. I don't think he's going to do basketball next year. So he's going to do football and he's going to run track.
Nah, you're not coaching him to be a running back. You hear all the grief running backs is taking these
Yeah,
days.
Yeah,
Are,
yeah.
does he play running back or does he?
He plays running back and he also plays safety.
Okay,
So
okay,
so maybe he'll shift more towards DB than running back.
okay. And the wife is cool with him playing?
Yeah, no, she has no problem with him playing because I know sometimes I mean it's I think about it, worry about him all the time, especially like when he's on defense. But no, she's cool with him playing.
Hmm. Nah, that's good stuff. And speaking of the wife, best part about being a husband.
Like I said, I just talked to you about how we have to have our own, reggae nightclub. We created ourselves. So probably just the camaraderie and the companionship that we have together. Because the thing about especially now because when the season starts, she basically becomes a single parent. Because it's we like to say in coaching, it's all one long day from the start of the season to the end of the season. And from typically from Monday through Thursday, I'm in at 6:30 in the morning. I'm leaving 10, 11 o'clock at night. So she has to really hold the whole household down by herself during the season. So that's why we try to take advantage of these moments when we get them, whether it's on the weekends, during like a Friday if we don't have to travel, or Saturday we don't have to travel. But the time that I'm off, that's when I just really try to lock in and to be a really good husband, and we try to do a lot of things together.
I know I hit you with the best of, but more importantly, this is about you here. Best part about being Ben Simmons.
I think the best part about being me is just being being an open-minded person, person that has a good nature, a good heart. I just enjoy, I enjoy people. Um, I just enjoy just being, a good heart, good-natured person. I think that's it. I think that's what people get from me, and there's nothing phony at all. I'm
Yeah.
always gonna keep it
Hmm.
real and be me, and just being a good-natured person.
Yeah. What would your parents say about you? I know father's no longer here, but what would he say? Your mom would say.
Um, I think um, I think my mother would say the exact same things that I just mentioned about myself. I know my mom's proud that I never really been in especially she had to hold it down with three kids on her own after my father passed away. That none of us had ever been incarcerated or gotten to any like major trouble. And I think she would say the same thing. She just had down just a good, God fearing, good natured person.
What's the bet here? We gonna eventually leave Green Bay, or we gonna become a head coach somewhere? Any desire to do that, or you go where you at? Because I know sometimes it ain't always all cracked up to be the head coaching gig. Sometimes it's cool where some folks are situated. But
But yeah,
any plans?
yeah, it's always something that I have that ambition to be, especially like earlier in my career, as things start to persist. Work my way up through the coordinators rank, and trying to put myself, in that position as I learn and move on. But and speaking of golf, like I look at my career now, I'm like on hole 15. you
Okay,
know,
okay.
so
Hmm.
yeah, so things are starting to wind down, and if the breaks, if the breaks for me, if they don't happen at this point, I look back. As long as I can look back and say, if I'm able to walk away from this game on my own accord, there's nothing that I can say that I really regret. And there's a couple of things that I wish I would have done differently that I think would have put me in better position to become a coordinator in this league or even a head coach. But those things didn't happen. But my biggest thing now is not to have any regrets and try to leave a legacy of being great at who I am and where I'm at, and being a person that people can say that when they say my name, they have a lot of respect for, that it means something, and that, the magnitude of the guys that I and the people that I affect, I think right now that's the most important thing for me.
Hmm. Yeah, because I was told as a kid, I was shared this and I never forgot it. As far as you engrave your name in the hearts of people. You live forever.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, when people are talking, that's why I never believed in bragging on myself. And I try to teach my son that too, is let if you're doing the right things, other people will do that for you.
Mhm.
So whether it is, so even if you might not be like the best player, if there's something about you, whether it's your work ethic, whether it's the drive, people can see the drive in you. It has to be something about you that other people can boast about and say, you want to be like this guy, you want to do things like this young man, right? And so those are the things I try to instill in my son. So that's good right there. What you just said. Say that again.
No, you engrave your name in the hearts of people. You live forever.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
What up?
I'm at the. Hope you don't back in the rap days. I hope you don't mind me biting off you.
Nah, 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 no problem with the ghostwriting. No problem at all. No problem. Well, I stole it, so yeah. So they no problem here. What's the season looking like? We think how y'all gonna do? How y'all looking?
Well, we got obviously with Wade Jordan's been playing over the last couple of games. I mean, so the quarterback position drives everything in this league. So we feel like we got a guy that gives us a chance. And last year we had the youngest team in the NFL, and all those guys have more experience now. So we got a chance. We feel like we're better. We feel like we got a team that can make some noise. And a lot of people say that about us, but it's like I tell everybody else has gotten better too. Like even when we start looking at the teams in our division, they've all gotten better. So and the one thing about the NFL that's a little bit different from college is that the difference between the team that wins the Super Bowl and the team that just misses the playoffs is extremely small, extremely small. So, and they designed this league so that every fan base feels like they have a chance. It might not be this year, but it might be in 2 years. So, I mean, that's why you can take a team like Detroit, who wasn't very good for a long time, and now all of a sudden, they're a team that's one of the Super Bowl favorites. That's how they designed this league. So, yeah, but we got a chance. We got a
Mhm.
chance.
Looking forward to seeing what you're doing here. But before we part, Ben, I wanted to say thank you because again, I know when I first started doing this, I had a wish list and you being on it here, and like I jokingly was serious about worried about NFL, knocking on my door with police because I was chasing you down here. So thank you again for just taking the time out, and you don't remember this at all. You actually, when I was in eighth grade and I went to go look at Immaculate, it was me and two or three other guys because I played Montclair Cobras, coach, and me living in Orange, and a couple of us
Hmm.
living in Orange, East Orange. We came up. You took me around. I
Really?
mean, it ain't but so much to go in the Immaculate. One
Right, 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 right,
that's
right.
you on the other side of the building. But just even hearing again from the marks and just even happening, catch a game seventh, eighth grade here, like just knowing it. Once I got there, I know you guys are just fresh off leaving, just hearing all the stories and everything. You're just one of those people that just raised that bar, like kept that bar high, and I just tried my best to reach it. I mean, never did, but I gave it a good shot here, and just to continue on here. And I didn't share this at all because I didn't want to deflect from you here. I spent the year as far as at Maine Central Institute. So I
Oh,
was
really?
in
You at MCI?
I was at MCI. So I spent the year at Pittsfield. I did a PG year there. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm familiar with, some of the stuff up there. And I know you only had the mall right in Bangor. So, so I know
Yeah,
you
you got, yeah,
had
right,
yeah, so
right.
I'm familiar with a little bit with Maine here. So but again, outside of that, thank you just for being you and and there's other ways to get to the end goal here, and you proven that. As far as that goes here, and just that manual you talked about earlier here. I mean, you applied it to your life as well too, and just being a stand up gentleman here. Thank you, Ben. This has been an honor for me here, and when I was telling my daughter, I was just like, uh, former high school alumnus and coaching for Green Bay here. I want to go to Green Bay. I'm like, oh God. Yeah, I say, we'll see about that. We'll see
Yeah.
about that. I don't know if you can handle the cold, So I was like, we'll see about. She's 10. She's
It's
10.
funny. It's funny that you say that too, because when people come up and they come to a game, initially they want to come to one of the cold games because they start thinking, oh, Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra. After that one experience, now they only try to come to the warm game. So, yeah, but it's neat.
Yeah,
Well, you got to let me know if you want to head up this way.
and it won't be the cold. I'm gonna tell you that right now, because the wife would do the cold. She'll look at me like I'm crazy. So, but now I'll let you know offline if anything about that. But even outside of that, thank you for this. This has been an honor, Ben, and and you squeeze me in before I know things pick up here regarding the season, and try to squeeze in some of that family time before that jumps off. So thank you for taking time out of here.
Well, I tell you what, like I said, man, thanks for us, being persistent so we can get together, like this, man. I really enjoyed doing this. And like I said, I saw the one that Tish did, saw the one that Lance did. I thought everything was first class. I mean, definitely, the way you presented everything, I mean, it's definitely laid out. So I got to, like I said, we got to get my man Sam Sales up here.
No, let's do it. Let's do it. And again, I was able to catch Fred. I got Rich too. Surprisingly,
Oh, really? You got
I did get Rich. I got Rich. Yeah, yeah. So Rich was cool. But definitely Sam and whoever else here. But and again, thank you, Ben, just for all of this here. Like I said, it's very appreciated. I'm honored to even be sitting here with you.
all right. Well, I appreciate it, Evan.
No doubt. So we'll talk one way or another.
Okay. All right.
No
Thanks,
doubt.
man. All
All
right.
right, back at you. Peace, Ben.
Yep. Later.
Wow, this is cool. This is cool. This is why I do this, as far as just want a little kid in me, I try not to get a little too giddy, as far as with some of these here, but just knowing somebody that walked the same halls that I walked, I mean, done things and lived out his dream in a different way, but still lived it out. Great man, great man. Ben, thank you for this here. I really appreciate you taking time out for doing this here. With that being said, I'm just gonna step away. I put my hand over my heart. That means I feel you. Yeah.